Serkis, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I am loving Andor. It's such a great character-driven espionage show that just happens to be set in the Star Wars universe. But we get introduced to your character, Kino Loy, in episode 8. After playing Snoke in the sequel trilogy, what was it about Andor and the character of Kino Loy that drew you back into Star Wars?
I mean, I was such a big fan of Rogue One. I just thought Tony Gilroy had created an incredible, story there, and just sort of coming into the universe again, but from a completely different point of view, and that grounded humanity that Rogue One had, I found really sort of intoxicating. And just when Tony and I talked about the character of Kino, to play a character that goes on the journey that he does, and actually to play someone who pre his incarceration, I think, is inherently a good human being who cares for others, and I always saw him as a sort of a foreman or a shop steward on a factory floor who was very vocal and stood up for workers' rights, who then, once he was incarcerated, and for no reason other than the Empire saw him as perhaps a little bit of a threat, that he just then became this other version of himself, which was kind of cold and shut down and just wanted to get through the day and serve his time and get out. So, and then he finds his humanity again once he is ignited by meeting Cassian. It was such a lovely storyline. I with a really great sort of sacrificial ending that I was really drawn to it.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, can you talk to me about working with Diego Luna and what you think Kino's first impressions of Andor is?
I mean, yeah, look, working with Diego is fantastic. He's such a brilliant actor and great storyteller. He's a director himself, of course. He's an exec producer on this series, and he understood that world thoroughly. Obviously, he's owned it in Rogue One. But it was just, he is so fantastically honest in his performance, and makes him such an engaging everyman character. And he doesn't play the kind of this sort of he doesn't play the hero that is never beaten down. He's really great at going through a journey, and he's very humble. And Cassian Andor has humility as well, which is a really interesting character part of his character. And so that, yeah, so when Kino and he rub shoulders, and at first he sees him as this strange threat who's going to ruffle all his routine and become a bad influence and really, screw up the kind of the line that he's desperately trying to keep working to clockwork. He's sort of on the floor. He's running these people's lives so that they get rewards, not punishment. And he's been desensitized into that role, and he can't think beyond that. And when Cassian starts asking difficult questions and actually starts to rile everybody up, he finds that an incredible threat, until a turning point where he begins to think he's actually seeing the truth, and which reignites his truth. So it was really great to play that relationship with Diego.
Yeah, these characters are so well crafted. Like, everybody has so many layers to them, which I find fantastic about this show. Now, Kino has a massive shift from episode 8 to 9 after learning about the other prisoners' doomed fate. Can you talk to me about the evolution of Kino that we even see in that from episode 8 to 9?
Yeah, he begins to realize that there's rumors flying around in the between the floors. There are 7 floors, and they're all basically, the moment where they can go from the factory floor back to their cells, there are these tubes which are, they're kind of like human test tubes,
right,
with electrified floors. But it offers a moment where prisoners can sign to each other and communicate. And there's been some accident or something's going on that they're trying to figure out. And throughout the course of the episode 9, he begins to realize that perhaps the Empire, the prison ship, and the guards and maybe is not in control as he's been led to believe. And Cassian has really sort of dug deep and found out information, and then they realize that their lives are, that there's a possibility they're never ever going to get released, and that for him is so crushing. He has a family outside. He's been working towards his release, and now. And this is the moment that turns, and actually compounded with the death of one of the inmates, who's one of the longest serving on his floor, and who he begins to care for. And when he is euthanized at the end, he realizes that they've got to do something about it. And so it's the beginning of a big kind of transformation in his character.
Yeah, man. Kino only has like 264 odd days left in that prison. He's just trying to make it out, man.
Exactly.
Now, I know you can't say much, but what can you tease us about episode 10? Because it seems like your character, Kino's possibly going to help Andor with a prison break. Possibly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he as I say, the turning point at the end of 9 is so, it's so crushing for him. He begins to realize that he has been deluding himself, and not only deluding himself, but actually being untruthful to himself. He's lost his inner core, and I think we see him beginning to question the possibility of well, what if there is a way of getting by and getting out and releasing all of the prisoners. And so we start to see throughout the course of episode 10 him buying into that and enabling that to happen.
Amazing. Now, Andor has felt more grounded, gritty, and serious compared to other Star Wars projects. Can you talk to me about working with Tony Gilroy to find that tone, especially in that sterile prison environment?
Yeah, I mean, Tony has got such an authority and a clarity of vision in constructing this world, because it never, the Star Wars universe is, on the whole, it's very good and evil, black and white. It's very dark, dark and light. This is all about the gray areas. This is all about the murky, kind of emotionally complex, grit in the oyster kind of storytelling. And he thrives. You can tell that he loves that kind of arena. And so this is, the prison ship, all of the characters throughout the course of the series, but the prison ship, and the arc that I'm part of, really has all of that. It feels like he is telling a story about the power of the individual to fight against a divide and rule kind of political system. And so it feels very contemporary. It feels very, 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 very zeitgeist and yet mythic. And he does it in such he has a very clear way of coming about that.
You are a master of bringing characters to life by taking a page and really elevating it. What did you want to bring to Kino that wasn't necessarily on the page?
Well, I think it's that thing of having that the journey of the character before you even see him, and sort of burying that and sort of carrying his tension, his pain, his sort of psychological distress, and burying that underneath his power and he's a natural leader. He is a natural leader, but he's someone who's been imprisoned for nothing, and to be imprisoned by a sort of totalitarian state and be completely powerless, and no matter how you tried and fight that, to have your will broken. I think when you've had a strong will, that was what I was trying to bring to him.
It's amazing. Now, look, last question I have for you. I'm a huge fan of Batman, and I gotta ask, what can we expect from Alfred in the Batman sequel? And is there a villain you would like to see that film tackle?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where with Alfred now. I just don't know. I don't know where that's going to go. I'm sure Matt Reeves is going to craft something incredible, because he always does. He's another formidable storyteller, and again, kind of always goes for the heart. Wow. I mean, villain wise, yeah, I'd like to see kind of let me think. The Sandman.
Sandman. A little bit of a crossover.
Yeah, a little bit of a crossover. I think that would be interesting.
It would be interesting. Well, I do have another question for you. Look, you're a fantastic director. I absolutely love your work. Is there any chance that you'd want to, or you're interested in directing a Star Wars either film or Disney Plus series?
Oh, I would. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just like, it's the most incredible universe, and I mean, any director would love the opportunity to do that. So yeah, hopefully at some point.
Well, Mr. Serkis, I can't wait till next Wednesday, episode 10. Thank you so much for your time. The show is phenomenal. It has me on the edge of my seat every single weekend or every single week. So thank you so much for your time, man, Mr. Serkis.